स्थिरैरङ्गैः तुष्टुवा पुंसस्तनूभिः यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ. With this short prayer, friends, I request Bhavan's program committee member and a Bhavanayat for the past almost 25 years, Dr. Srimati Indumati Nathan, to please come and introduce today's speaker, Dr. Indumati Nathan.
Namaskaram. The talk is going to be in English, therefore I suppose it will be fitting that if I start the proceedings going on in English. It is an honor and privilege for us in Bhavan to invite Sri T.N.Ramachandran, who needs no introduction at all to the Tamil-speaking world. I didn't say Tamilian, Tamil-speaking world of the world. He is a scholar, both in Tamil, and he is equally fluent and knowledgeable when it comes to Shakespeare and Milton. I have often heard him say Milton Mamuni. For him to have that kind of like or extreme desire to know Milton better, he ought to have read him that much more, I felt. So he is quite adept at that. That apart, he is also the international director for Shaiva Siddhantam, Dharmapura Adinam, Tanjavur district in Tamil Nadu. He is quite a scholar of formidable repute in Shaiva literature, as you would see, and I happen to have heard him for about 3 or 4 lectures, or probably 5 lectures last year, which happens to be a chance of fortune. Fortune usually favors as a chance only, I think. And of which 3 of them were about Shaiva literature and people, the saints of the Shaiva sect, but 2 were different. One was about Bharathiya, the national poet, and one was post-Bharati, Trilok Sitaram, which both of them were very varied subjects, and he spoke with gusto, which I appreciated. Talking about that, without losing that thread, he is talking about Bharatiyarin Vaalvum Vakum tomorrow on the 13th of June, Sunday, between 11 and 12:30 at Nalvar Mani Mandapam, 2 Salisbury Road, Manor Park. I just thought I'll introduce that as well as the next venue of his speech. He has been quite busy. He has visited UK twice over. And another thing which is very nice about him is, not only is he a scholar, but he collects avidly books of rarity and of different languages, and he reads them, unlike just collecting and keeping them as a point of decoration in the house. He reads them, which is very evident from the way he speaks. As I said, I don't want to take more time about it, except to say that it is indeed an honor for us to host him at Bharathiya Vidya Bhawan, UK Centre. Sri T.N.Ramachandran.
I think I will sit. May the dancer at Tillai protect us. Friends, little versed as I am in anything, I felt a trifle jittery to appear before you, to articulate a few words on the topic I myself have chosen. I should say that Dr. Indumati Nathan shook away my shakings, and here I am before you, sitting with a confidence sans bound, thinking that I have not, after all, adventured my discretion either weakly or badly. The Puranam of St. Kannappar forms part of the great hagiography called the Tiruttondattogai. That was how the work was christened by my deity, Saint Secular. course, the Puranam is more popularly known as the Periya Puranam. It was indited by Saint Sekarar, who was the Prime Minister of Kulotunga II, better known as Anapaya Chakravarti. According to Saint Umapati, the Arangetram of this Puranam took place in the 1,000-pillared hall Mantapam at the Thillai temple during a whole year. The Arangetram commenced on an Adirai day. Adirai is Betelgeuse. During Chittirai, and was concluded during the succeeding year, same Adirai day, the month being Chittirai. According to the reckoning made by a friend of mine, who is a knowledgeable person, the Arangetram commenced on 4th April 1139 AD and was concluded on 22nd April 1140 AD. As I said, the Periya Puranam is a hagiography. It is good to remember at the outset that the Periya Puranam is a vast and lofty mountain range, the peaks of which are not scalable by ordinary mortals. There are many Puranams which are in bulk and size bigger than the Periya Puranam. However, it is only this Puranam which goes by the name Periya Puranam. The Sanskrit word Maha is the equivalent of the Tamil word Periya. In his introduction to the Ramayana of Valmiki, I think many of you may be familiar with the translation. Valmiki Ramayana was translated into English during the end of the last century by R.T.H. Griffith. In his introduction to his translation of Valmiki's Ramayana, as he calls it, the great Indologist R.T.H. Griffith, who also translated all the four Vedas, he observes, "As I proceed beyond the age of Kalidasa, there appears before me a great epic monument to which Indian tradition ascribes a most remote antiquity, so far as to make Vyasa, the compiler of the Vedas, its author. This monument is the Mahabharata. I bow before this colossal epic." The very size has magnetized the translator. Griffith, you may know, was the chela of H.H. Wilson, a very celebrated Indologist. He was swept off his feet by the very immensity of Mahabharata, an epic which is 4 times as big as the Ramayana. And what about the Ramayana? Ramayana is 2 times the combined bulk of Homer's Odyssey and Iliad. If bulk or size is the criterion, then before the Brahmanagian Mahabharata, the Periya Puranam is but a Lilliputian. As size per se is of no account, the Periya Puranam, a mere Vamana in appearance, is truly a Trivikrama in stature. This Puranam is truly great and grand as well as sublime, as it is a recordation of the lives and mystic experience of Adiyar, than whom none is greater. I say this with all aplomb. Nobody is greater than an Adiyar. Adi, as you know, the Tamil word Adi means foot. An Adiyar is one who is totally devoted to and is eventually one with the feet of his Lord. It may be Shiva, it may be Narayana, who is the ens entium according to the adherents of the particular faith. He is an Adiyar who clings to the feet of his deity, solely constitutive of his refuge as well as palladium. The Periya Puranam narrates the glory and the greatness of 63 individual adiyars. Besides, it speaks of 9 groups of adiyars. Our saint Kannappar is one of the 63. Only 2 out of the 63 hailed from places near or perhaps even in the Andhra Pradesh. Kannappar is one of them. He is hailed as Kalai Malinda Sheer Nambi Kannappar. This is the tribute paid to him by Nambi Arurar, who is more popularly known as Sundaramurti Nayanar. He says, I am a servitor of Kannappar, Kalai Malinda Sheer Nambi, the glorious polymath, the man who was well versed in all arts. The point is, Kannappar was an illiterate. But he is hailed as one who was well versed in all arts and sciences. As I said, the Kannappar, according to Sundaramurti Nayanar, was remarkable for his multifoliate knowledge. The dictum of Sundarar, as I said, is a paradox. Kannappar was an illiterate, yet he is hailed as the most knowledgeable of men. Never indeed was truth encased in a more antithetical dictum. That indeed is knowledge, which is known as gnosis. That is knowledge which not only leads to God, but is God. Kannappar graduated in an academy which was run by Lord Shiva himself. Let us not forget that. It will spell good for us to know of a few facts constitutive of the life of Saint Kannappar. Our saint hails from the country known as Pottappinadu, a region renowned for its peace, plenty and prosperity. In this region was a village or a town called Udupur. Udu means a star. Udupur. This place was surrounded by forests and hills. The dwellers of this town were foresters. They grew with their trained animals, which were hogs, tigers, elephants, antelopes, bears, setters, hounds, and such other wild beasts. The children of the foresters played with the tiger cubs and the elephant calves. The denizens of the area were strangers to compassion. Without exception, all of them were strangers to compassion. People in and around them will hear them articulate only words like this: kill, catch, murder, do things like that. The leader of these hunters was one Nagan. Nagan means a man of snake. Nagan and his wife was known as Tattai. Tattai means parrot. They were a fearless couple. Knowledgeable elders declared that this couple would not beget any child at all. So, when this was pronounced, the desire to get a child, you see, was all the more great, because when one is told that one cannot obtain a particular thing, one's heart runs after it. So they made a vow to Lord Muruga, and Muruga is the deity for the hunters. They offered him chanticleers and speckled peacocks. They kept their vow and fulfilled it to the letter. Unto them a son was eventually born by the grace of grace. The child was weighty as well as mighty. He could not be lifted with bare hands, and so he was christened Tinnan, the hardy one. The child grew and was initiated in the art of archery at the proper hour. A great feast was held in this connection. Liquor flowed like a river. Sweetmeats stood piled up like pyramids. Drums, bugles, conches, flutes, and trumpets raised an orchestrated din which tore the welkin. Tinnan, at the auspicious hour, held the martial bow. Day by valorous day, his skill in archery grew and was crowned with consummation. With equal valiancy, he was able to wield the other weapons also. Even thus, he thrived. As days passed on, Nagan grew old and he was no longer his former self. He could not hunt as of old. Fierce forest boars, bears, tigers, kadamai, jungle cows, bisons, wrathful marai, and other wild beasts began to thrive thick, and they began to lay waste the fields and the gardens in the great slopes of the hills. The foresters complained to their leader Nagan and said, if this situation continues, then all of us will perish. Nagan was convinced that he could no longer undertake any hunt. Therefore, he resolved to appoint his own son as his successor. The foresters grew glad when they heard this news, and they were convinced that the son would rule much better than his father. The priestess, she is known as Devarati. She can foresee, she can penetrate the future and inform people, you see, what is in store for them in the future. She performed the sacrifices for the sylvan gods and goddesses, and Nagan installed his son as the ruler of the realm, in token of which he handed over to him his sword as well as belt. Well, friends, the great preparations were done for the hunt. Because the forests were being laid waste, it was Thinnan's lot to participate in his maiden hunt and to demonstrate his skill. What happened at this hour was a very wild boar, which looked like a hill in appearance. It suddenly appeared on the scene and began to do acts of valiance which were not to be expected by these persons. What happened to us? It was left to the lot of Thinnan to pursue that particular boar very well. Before that, I should say, the foresters, though they were known for their lack of compassion, they were God-fearing people. That is the saving feature. The Devarati blessed Thinnan. The synergetic hordes, they advanced with their nets and bows. Thinnan, the great one, who was to snap all bonds, followed them. Many went ahead of him, carrying leather straps and nets, into which the forests and hills, leather straps and nets into the forests and also the hills. Well, friends, trumpets tarat in the front ranks, kettle drums resounded from all sides, Pompey's blared, hands clapped keeping time. Thus marked the hunters in great hullabaloo. I don't know why Secular chose to describe the hunt in great detail. Therefore, it is my duty to indicate at least in some measure how the hunt took place. My deity is Secular. Therefore, I choose to call myself the father of the Uli of Saint Secular. Saint Secular is a great Velala. And all Brahmins, let me say, 4 million Brahmins cannot equal the greatness of Secular. Please remember that. 4 million Brahmins cannot equal the greatness of Saint Secular. Every one of us must remember this truth. Let me proceed. Even the junglis had their dharma. Our Saint Secular says, the murderous hunters who faced the wild beasts and slaughtered them in abundance would not hunt elephant calves. Neither would they hurt the young ones that roamed noisily, nor would they harm toddling and pregnant animals. This was the dharma which they pursued. Eventually, there appeared on the scene a wild and hill-like boar. It darted like a lightning, tore the net, and sped away from the hunters Tinnan pursued it in all swiftness to down it. Only two of his friends, namely Nanan and Kadan, chose to follow Tinnan. The huge boar went out of control. Nobody could follow it. After covering a long distance, running eventually non-stop, it ultimately stationed itself in the shadow of a tree situate in the foot of a hill amidst the thick jungle, thick boscage, as Tennyson would put it. Tinnan would not down it by shooting at it. He could have done it. From at a distance, you see, he can speed his dart and kill it. He opted for a straight encounter with it. He drew out his flashing blade and felled it. Beholding his slicing into two the boar, addressing Kadan, Nanan said, "Kada, we chased the beast for many a league and grew fatigued. He, our friend, the true he-man, it was he who slew it." Saying this, they both fell at his feet. All of them were tired, and of them it was only Tinnan who was least tired. The two of them besieged Tinnan and said, "We are hungry. We will fry this boar. You first eat a modicum of this, and then we will also participate in the eating. We will drink some water, and then leg back to our town." It was then Tinnan asked them, "Is potable water available in this frightful jungle?" To this query, Nanan answered, saying, "Beyond this grove of teak, near the hill range, courses the cool river." Does anyone know the name of the river? I am not testing you. just to kindle an interest, I am putting this question. The name of a river is mentioned, a very famous river. Today, there is no such river there. It looks like a gutter. Sorry, things are like that. He says, "Beyond this grove of teak, near the hill range," we are in Kalahasti. Can you remember the name of the river? Courses the cool river Ponmukali. Please don't forget the name of this river. A very sacred river. Then they hie towards the river. After crossing half a league, Tinnan beheld the garden of the divine mountain where abides Lord Shiva. The very presence of the hill was bewitching. "Nana," said Tinnan, "we will proceed straight to the hill." At this, Nanan said, "If you go there," you know who eventually identified the Kalahasti hill so dear to Kannappar? It was done some 40 years ago. If you are not able to answer this question, then remember to put this question to me once again. Who was able to identify the Kalahasti hill, which was so dear to our Kannappar? Well, this Nanan says, if you go there, you will behold a splendid sight. On the top of this sky-high Kalahasti hill, the Lord of tufted crest, that's what he says, tufted crest, Kudumittevar Irupar, the remover of all kings, he abides there. In all wondrous splendor, him we can adore. The presence of the hill and the words of Nanan pierced the soul of Tinnan with ineffable ecstasy. He said, "As I near this, the burden of my life wanes. Love wells up in me. My bosom is possessed of a totally different longing." That's very important. All my earlier desires, they have vamoosed. I am possessed of only one longing, one desire. And that longing, if I may be permitted to use the word of Shakespeare, that longing is an immortal longing. My soul leaps towards the hill. Where indeed is our Lord? Let us hasten thither. Tinnan moved fast, followed by his two friends. They reached the bank of the Ponmugali. The boar was unloaded in the cool shade of a tree. Tinnan bade Kadan thus, "Create fire by churning a pair of sticks. We will go up the hill adore the Lord, and you have to soon return here. Tinnan and Nanan crossed the river. The sun was in the midmost of heavens. When they arrived at the foot of the divine hill, when they began to ascend it, they heard the music of the Deva Tuntupis, which constitute a pentet. Bewitched by the music, Tinnan asked, "What may this divine sound be?" Nanan knew nothing about it. He said, "Perhaps it is the loud bombination of bees which circle round the great honeycombs in the hill, sip the nectar of flowers in swarms, and fly with the hiss of rustling wings." Limitless love welled up in Tinnan. It was the hour when his ascesis, tapas, in previous incarnations was about to fructify. His longing got transformed into devotion, devotion pure. As he moved on, his bones began to melt and a great yawning possessed him. He climbed the immense flight of steps with ease and grace. Saint Sekadar says, "Nananum anbum munbu nalir varai era காமம் பேணு தத்துவங்கள் என்னும் பெருகு சோபானம் ஏறி ஆணையாம் சிவத்தைச் சார அணைபவர் போல ஐயர் நீழ்நிலை மலையை ஏறி நேர்படச் செல்லும் போதில்." I'll give you the translation. Kannappar is referred to as Ayyar. In our parlance, in our arrogant parlance, he is an untouchable. My deity Sekadar calls only three untouchables. He calls them Ayyars. One is Nandan. Nandanai போல் ஒரு பார்ப்பான் இந்த நானிலத்தில் இல்லை. The second one is Kannappar, also an untouchable. And the third one is Nilakanta Yalpanan. He was also an untouchable. And my deity chose to call only these three. These are the true Ayyars. Nananam Anbum, yes. His love and Nanan preceded him, and Tinnan ascended the cool hill. This is represented as transcending the tattvas you see which bind the human soul. Pernu tattvangal ennum perugu sobanam eri. He was able to transcend the flight of steps, all the graded tattvas, which are 6 and 30 in number, as though he would attain Shiva, whose form is Shakti. As thus he ascended the hill, it was Shiva who cast first his looks on his devotee. This is full of significance. This is Sakshi Diksha. It was Shiva who cast his eyes on him first. That very moment, all the fetters of Kannappar slipped away. Lo and behold, he shone with a wondrous splendor. He became the very form of love. Love with a capital L. No wonder Manikavadigar said, Kannappan Uppadur Anbu Inmai Kandabin. For peerless, remarkable, non-pale, unmatched, immatchable love, the only instance that can be cited is Kannappan. The unique devotee beheld the unique deity of the Kalahasti hill. He ran towards him, he hugged him tight, he kissed him. He would even eat him if it was possible. He heaved sighs. The hair on his body stood erect, thrilled by ecstasy. His English is a very poor language. This does not have any expression a single expression to represent this thought. The hair sometimes you see stands erect. On 2 occasions you feel it. One, it's done by fright. The other occasion is delight, joy, ecstasy. For the goose pimple, for your hair standing erect, you see, caused by fright, there is a word, horripilation. For its being caused by delight, there is no such expression in English. I don't want to derogate this language, it's a very good language, but I would like to point out the lack of a word, you see, which is very important. Likewise, you see, there is no equivalent in English for needy. This is being bemoaned by great scholars. There is no one word or group of words, you see, which convey exactly the idea which is held, as it were, in the womb of the word needy. It is untranslatable. Very well. Kannappar, he is not to be known as Kannapan now, he is known as Tinnan. He said, I have found my Lord. Then the utter loneliness of the Lord, in that great hill, you see, it touched him. Oh my Lord, how can you here abide with help none, alone, all alone, near a jungle infested with boars and bears, tigers and tuskers? He grieved sorely did he grieved. I mean, we cannot have any such experience at all, because the idol there is a stone for us. But for Kannappar, it was a living deity. He beheld on the floor some flowers which were strewn earlier. He saw some water. He also saw some leaves on the ground. And then he wanted to know what these things signified. When questioned and answered thus, I had come here once with your father. I saw a Brahmin bathe the idol, then strew on it flowers and leaves. He also fed the deity. He uttered and muttered a few words, which I could not understand. Then Tinnan thought, these are perhaps really good deeds. If my Lord should esteem them, I should also serve the Lord similarly. That is very important. So his way of worship: leaves, flowers, water, Naivedya. Tinnan, who was hungry, concluded that his Lord also suffered from hunger. That's the word for it, anthropomorphism, attributing human traits to the deity itself. So he said, he felt, my Lord should be hungry, esurient. So let me part from him, though reluctantly, secure for him whatever will be deemed as victuals, eatables. So he crossed the river, moved into a garden laden with fresh flowers. He stuck to his tuft many leaves and flowers, and then he fried the huge boar and took out some darts. Then he tested the flesh, you see, whether it has been cooked well. Then those arrows, you see, to the end of which you see flesh was sticking, he again fried them nicely. Much cooking was done. He tasted the meat, he tasted the flesh, found them to be very toothsome. Then he wove a cup of teak leaves, put the choicest morsels into the cup of teak leaves. These are very delicious. Kolinal kottukkachi korumbasai korundasai padathil veva navinal mun adan suvai kande. And all of a different type. Then what happened was, his friends were there, they were all feeling extremely hungry. He totally ignored them. He departed from them, taking the cup in his hand. For ablutions, he filled his mouth with the water of Ponmugali. There were already the leaves and flowers on his tuft. Up he came. He was solely, wholly, and exclusively possessed by one longing only. He must serve his Lord. He took his bow and darts in one hand. In the other, he bore the soft and savory flesh. He leaped over the steps and came to the presence of his deity in all celerity. He moved the leaves and the flowers on the crest of the Lord by a sweep of his slippered foot. What shall I say? He besprinkled the person of his Lord with the water stored in his mouth. Lo, it was palpable love that flowed in liquid form. He lovingly placed on the Lord's crown the leaves and the blossoms which he had stuck in his tuft. Then he placed before the Lord the cup that held the nectarian offering. The great Shiva was pleased to accept the offering. Now came still evening on. Twilight melted into night. Tinnan stood guard over his Lord. In unwinking alertness, he was poised in his vigil. With the passing of the watches of night, murk faded away. The unsleeping hero heard the pipe of the half-awakened birds and was driven by a penchant to move out into the boscage to secure victuals for his lord, the hunter hunted, bent on downing the very best to come by sumptuous meat. Now came to the shrine the Shivacharya, the great Shivacharya, the great Agamic Pandit. He was known as Shivagocharya, an acknowledged cognoscente of Agamic Saivism. As he neared the presence of the Lord, he saw scattered pieces of bones and cooked flesh, the footprint of a dog. Ah, Anuchitam Kettain! Woe is me, he cried. He jumped and leaped and bounced away from the pollution and cried, Woe is me, what rank pollution is this? Who did it? He almost swooned, but he recovered from his wilting, and on he performed the expiatory rites. Mantravattaha Kumbhabhishekam Seidar. He knew how to do it. He performed the expiatory rites and then commenced and completed his puja in strict conformity with the Agamic injunction. He eventually took leave of his lord and repaired to the woods where he performed his quotidian tapas, ascesis. Tinnan, meanwhile, had hunted well. He had cooked the toothsome dishes. Then he ascended the hill, and as before, he removed the offerings of the Brahmin and performed the puja after his fashion. Day by sacred day, the love of Tinnan for his lord waxed great. He would not slumber at night. Remember this. He would not slumber at night, and during day he went a-hunting. The great Shivacharya would come there daily. He would grow sick. He would recover. And then he would do his duty righteously and piously. Meanwhile, the father of Tinnan arrived there with the Devarati and tried to cure him, but he found his exercise to be one in vain. No normal person can know aught of Tinnan's beatitude. Sekidar says, Munbu Tirukkalatti Mudalvanar Arul Nokkal Inburu Vedagathi Irumbu Pon Anar Pola Yakkaidan Parisham Vinay Irandam Sharu Malam Mundrum Ara Anbu Pirambai Tirivar our Karuthin Alavinaro. As earlier the Lord of Kalatti had cast on him his looks of grace, like iron getting transmuted by the sweet alchemic touch, his twofold karma, his triple mala, were totally done away with. His body came to be wrought of ethereal fire. He moved about in the embodied form of love. Ha! Is he within the ken of anybody's comprehension? By now, 5 days have passed. Shivagocharya underwent untold agony and angst. In his dream, Lord Shiva appeared and said, Look here, the man who has scared you is so dear to me. His entire form is all love for me. All his knowledge is true gnosis that reveals us. All his deeds are absolutely sweet to us. Know him to be thus, even thus. The priest was bidden to behold everything in person on the morrow. It was the 6th day in the calendar of Tinnan's sacred servitorship. As usual, at daybreak, the sleepless bowman set out for his unique hunt. As he returned to the Lord's hill with meat and flesh well cooked, he espied ominous portents. What hath betid my Lord? Woe is me, he cried. As he came near the Lord, he beheld blood gushing from one of his eyes. From Tinnan's mouth water spilled. From his hand the cup of flesh and the bow alike slipped down. His tuft trembled, and from it fell down the fresh-blown flowers and leaves. He quaked in agony. Down he fell crashing. Then he rose up and wiped out the blood, but the blood continued to flood. He was dazed. somewhat revived, he pondered thus, who had done this? Up he rose, casting his look in all directions, and seizing his bow, he fared forth to the slope of the huge hill, sleuthing a great stretch. There were no hunters anywhere, neither were there any animals. He returned to his deity. He hugged him closely and wept bitterly like a child. Then he rose up to secure herbs that could heal the wound. He waded through the herbaries, gathered precious herbs, rushed to his deity, squeezed the herbs, and poured the demulcent juice into the bleeding eye. This was all in vain. He was bamboozled. He was flabbergasted. What could he do? But on a sudden, a thought flashed across his mind. Flesh can be cured by flesh. With delay none, he carefully gouged an eye of his and fixed it on the bleeding eye of his lord. The blood ceased to gush. Up he jumped in delight. He stroked his hill-like shoulders. Kundana valarnda tholgal kuttinar. He danced for joy. However, his joy was short-lived. Blood began to pour from the other eye. For a minute or two, Tinnan stood dazed. Then he said, I will not be daunted. I have known of the cure. I still have an eye. I will stop it. I will scoop it and gouge it on my lords. If he should scoop out his eye to graft it on the eye of the Lord, he would become blind. The moment his eye is scooped out, to precisely place the gouged eye on the bleeding eye of the Lord, he planted his left foot on the eye of the Lord. Love in him welled up. He chose a unique dart and applied it to his eye. Lord Shiva could endure this no more. With his unique hand, Shiva stayed the unique hand of his bhakta and announced thrice thus, Stop, O Kannappar, stop, O Kannappar, stop, O Kannappar. So Kannappar is the name given by Shiva to his deity, Tinnan. His name is Tinnan. The only witness blessed to behold the Lord's Leela was the great Shivacharya. The celestials and the Vedas applauded the act of the peerless devotee. Can there be a better beatitude? Addressing his devotee, Shiva said, O peerless one, be at my right forever. Marilai, yen valatil nirka. Marilai, O unique one. No doubt, Kannappar is unique. Well, the first one to donate an eye was Mahavishnu himself. Vishnu, according to Saiva tradition, is a great devotee of Shiva. According to the Vaishnavite tradition, Shiva is a great devotee of Narayana. Let us not quarrel. According to Saiva tradition, Vishnu is a great devotee of Shiva. He was initiated into the performance of Shiva Puja by no less an august personality than Upamanyu, son of Vyagrapata. I narrate to you this incident from which is recorded in the Mahabharata. It is Upamanyu who taught Narayana the Shiva Sahasra Nama, which was thereafter propagated by Vishnu. He was the person to bless the Shiva's devotees with this gift. We meet with this message in the Mahabharata, as I told you earlier. Vishnu hailed Shiva with 1,000 flowers every day. One day Shiva caused one of the flowers to disappear. This was to demonstrate to the world the unique devotion of Vishnu. Vishnu was not stymied by the disappearance of the flower. He gouged an eye of his and placed it at the feet of Shiva and completed his puja. As a guerdon for this unique act of devotion, Vishnu was blessed with his sprocket wheel with which he did away with Jalandharasura. It is this wheel, this Ari, which is hailed as Sudarshana Chakra. This is the version of the Saivite scriptures. This Adi was gifted to Vishnu by Shiva at Tiruvizhi Midalai. Try to remember this name. Tiruvizhi Midalai. The shrine at Tiruvizhi Midalai is adorned with a tower which is Vishnu's offering to Shiva. It is known as the heaven descended Vimana, Vin Iri Vimanam. If you visit Tamil Nadu, forget not to make a pilgrimage to Tiruvizhi Midalai. The very sight of the Vimana is soul uplifting. Vishnu, the first donor of an eye, is not known as Kannappar. It is Tinnan who is Kannappar. Why? Let me answer this a little later. It is Kannappar and Chandishar, who alone are hailed in every one of the 12 Saivite Tirumurais. In all the 12 Tirumurais, you meet with them. Please recall to your mind the shock that Shivagocharya underwent when he found in the presence of Shiva bones and cooked flesh. The agony and the angst that he experienced at that hour defy description. However, Shiva chose to appear in his dream and narrated to him the uniqueness of Kannappar. Friends, Adi Shankara Bhagavatpada affirms thus. He says of Kannappar, the footwear worn out through constant use in the jungle pathways became the holy darba grass placed on the body of Pasupati. The pouring of the mouth-borne water became the ablutions of Shiva, the Tripura Samhara. The handful of meat that remained after his eating became the fresh food offering. Lo, is there art which is impossible for devotion? The forester became a unique servitor among servitors. I am not a student of Sanskrit, but I know a bit of Sanskrit. I will place before you the stanza of Shankara. Margavartita Patuka Vasupate Angasya Kurchayate Gandu Shambhu Nishechanam Puraripor Divyabhisheka Yate Kimchit Bhakshita Mamsa Shesha Kabalam Navyopahara Harayate Bhakti Kim Na Karoti Aho Vanacharo Bhakta Vatamsayate. So that is a tribute of Shankara to Kannappar. The life of Saint Kannappar is fraught with sacred mysticism. I will finish it in 5 minutes. I will not try your patience. Years ago, I read a paper on mysticism in the Periya Puranam in a seminar held at Dehradun. I took only 10 minutes to dwell on the greatness of Kannappar. I am not drawing the long bow when I tell you that a few of the participants met me after the meeting and tearfully thanked me. The few that thanked me, mark this, were Catholic nuns. I am not offending any person belonging to any other faith. I just narrate to you some facts. Catholics, unfortunately, have no faith in bhakti. It's a secret. The few that thanked me, as I said, were the Catholic nuns. Their Almora convention had taught them through a resolution that the concept of bhakti is a figment of the fevered imagination. They were aware of the resolution. They should have thanked me for opening their eyes and demonstrated the illusion behind the resolution that had been thrust on them. But they didn't openly acknowledge these facts. I think I was intelligent enough to guess them. Friends, a mystic experience is blessed with the God touch. That's the phrase used by Aurobindo, Sri Aurobindo. More often than not, a mute, featureless semblance of the unknown is upperceived and it carries the person in a somnambulist world athwart the enormous trance of space. A gate of dreams is flung ajar and mysteries verge. An instantaneous epiphany takes place, flared by the signals of divine thoughts and heavenly hopes. The person is invested with a splendor, a lovely splendor, which grows into a consecration. After a time, the afflatus spends itself and withdraws. All that remains is a mystic surd behind the ordinary logic of things. If Shiva Bhakti is personified as a human being, Saint Kannappar will be the eyes of that person. Our Nayanar is the inextinguishable light of Saivism. His life of servitorship lasted for 6 days. 6 million eons cannot match the glory of these 6 days. It is said that Kannappar was Arjuna in his previous incarnation. Arjuna was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, and he would not allow even a particle of food to enter his mouth before his quotidian performance of Shiva Puja was done in the most proper way. This truth is also attested by the Mahabharata. The progress of Saint Kannappar is thus portrayed by Saint Sekira. முன்பு செய் தவத்தின் ஈட்டம் முடிவிலா இன்பமான அன்பினை எடுத்து காட்ட. Limitless love welled up in him by reason of the fruition of his ascesis in his past incarnation. தாமும் பெரு தத்துவங்கள் என்னும் பெருகு சோபானம் ஏறி. He climbed the immense flight of steps, all the created tattvas. திங்கள் சே சடையார் தம்மை சென்று அவர் காணா முன்னே அங்கனர் கருணை கூர்ந்த அருள் திரு நோக்கம் எய்த. Even before he held the Lord, whose matted hair sports the crescent, his looks of grace were cast on him. தின்னனார் திருக்காலத்தி நாயனாருக்கு இனிய செய்கை எண்ணிய இவைகொலாம். Tinnan thought, these are perhaps good deeds esteemed by the Lord of Tirukkalatti. He resolved to hold fast to this service. அங்கிவன் மலைமேல் தேவர் தம்மை கண்டு அணைத்துக் கொண்டு பங்கினை பற்றி போதாமல் உடும்பு என்ன நீங்கான். This Tinnan is possessed by the Lord. There in the hill belonging to the Lord, and beholding the Lord, he hugged him close, like the Varan Udumbu. Holding fast to the curved cavern hollow, he would not lose his grip. Hallurangar pahal vettayaaduvar. He would not slumber during night. During day he would go a-hunting. Inburu vedagathi irumbu pon aanar por. Anbu pirambai thirivar. Our karuthin alavinaro. His body had come to be wrought of ethereal fire. He moved about as love embodied. Is he within the ken of thought's comprehension? Nam uraipakal, words of Shiva. அவனுடைய வடிவெல்லாம் நம்பக்கல் அன்பு. Shiva spake. His form entire is all love for us solely. மகிழ்ந்து முன் இருந்து தங்கன் முதற்சரம் அடுத்து வாங்கி முதல்வரம் கண்ணில் அப்ப. Gouged his eye and in joy with a dart he fixed it in the eye of his first one. உள் நிறைந்த விருப்பினோடும் ஒருதனை பகழி கொண்டு தின்னனார் கண்ணில் ஊன்ற தரித்திலர் தேவதேவர். When Tinnan with a bosom filled with joy took out a unique arrow and applied it to his eye, the Lord of Gods could not endure it any further. அன்பர் கையை தடுக்க 3 அடுக்கு நாக கங்கணர் அமுதவாக்கு கண்ணப்ப நிற்க என்ற. To prevent his hand, the Lord whose bangles are serpents announced thrice in ambrosial words, thus, stop, O Kannappa. ஏறு உயர்த்தவர் தன் கையால் பிடித்துக் கொண்டு என் வலத்தில் மாறிலாய் நிற்க என்று மன்னு பேரருள் புரிந்தார். Shiva, whose flag bears the signum of the bull, held the hand of Thinnappan tight and said, O unique one, be at my right forever. Thus, even thus, he blessed him with grace abounding. Before I take leave of you, let me bring to your notice a passage from an article by my American friend, Professor Glenn U. Yoakum, Professor of Comparative Religion, Whittier College. In order to see how an American is able to interpret it. In order to see, one needs eyes. The Kannappar episode takes this obviously, hardly remarkable episode He takes this oddly remarkable fact and pushes it in rather typical fashion to a shocking, dare I say, eye-opening, extreme. The dramatical skeleton of darshan in Hindu ritual and devotion is given here narrative flesh and blood. The eyes are real. The eyes are real eyes. They see, they communicate, they also bleed. It is as if the following well-known passage from one of Meister Eckhart's sermons had found the anecdote to vivify the abstraction. The eye by which I see God is the same as the eye by which God sees me. One of the sermons of Eckhart. But Saiva Siddhantam slightly differs. I will also inform you about it. My eye and God's eye are one and the same. One in seeing, one in knowing, and one in loving. It is very tempting to use Eckhart's statements and Kannappar's episode as multi-religious fodder for ruminating on many implications for the mystic theology which they suggest. Friends, Saivism affirms that God should be seen with God's own eyes. அவனருளே கண்ணாக காணினல்லால் இப்படியன் இந்நிறத்தன் இவ்வண்ணத்தன் இவன் இறைவன் என்று காண முடியாது. அவன் அருளாலே அவன் தாள் வணங்கி. Therefore, it affirms that God must be seen with God-given eyes. Approving Appar's theory, Amayapar, who is Shiva, he says, we have revealed a new doctrine through Kannappar. If man needs the Lord's eye to behold him, the Lord, a fortiori, for a stronger reason, needs the eye of his devotee to behold him. Which is why he received from Kannappar his eye. Well, Shivagocharya represents the grammar of Saivism and sent Kannappar the best of its idioms. Kannappar ஒப்பதோர் அன்பின்மை கண்டபின் என்னப்பன் என்னையும் ஆட்கொண்டருளி பண்ணப்பணித்தருளி வாவென்று சொன்ன வான்கருணை சுண்ணப்பொன் நீட்டருக்கே சென்றுதாய் கோத்தும்பி. Thank you, I have done. The Kalahasti hill was identified by our Shankaracharya, who is no more. Yes.
What an inspired talk. In Karnataka, we know Kannappar as Vedara Kannappa.
Oh.
All the time when I was listening, I had seen that film, the very first film of Kannada matinee idol Rajkumar was Vedara Kannappa. Even remember that one foot on Shivalinga and using the other one with an arrow to take out the eyes to offer it as his puja to Shiva, and Shiva's eyes. And while Sri Ramachandran ji was mentioning about Vishnu offering his eyes, Vishnu is known as Kamala Netra. My brother always while giving the Yakhyanams would say, Vishnu had 100 Kamala Pushpas to offer it to Shiva. Shiva one day wanted to test his Shiva Bhakti, so he acted in such a way that one of the Kamala Pushpa disappeared. Vishnu had been was being worshipped by people as Kamala Netraya Namaha. If I am praised as Kamala Netra, there is one Kamala left, let me take out one Kamala from here and up. All these, how they bring out. Yes, of course we have heard wherein Shiva as Vishnu Bhakta, Vishnu as Shiva Bhakta, just to show that Shiva and Vishnu are not separate. They are the same. And in the Mahabharata also, Arjuna, a great Shiva Bhakta, that's why he was given the Pashupata. Arjuna, Shiva wanted to test how devoted Arjuna was. He even fights with Arjuna. Finally, he was so happy that Arjuna was such a committed person to whatever he is doing. So he, in the presence of Girija, he gave this Pashupata. I do not know how to thank In Sanskrit again I come to Sanskrit. Maya hi tyapamangalam vrajakila snehena shunyam vacha tistheti prabhuta yatharuchi kurushvesha prudatinata no jivami vinatvayeti vachanam sambhavyate vanava tanmam shikshaya nathayat samuchitam vaktum tvai prasthite. Young husband, newly married, he has to go on a long tour. He has come to take leave of his wife, newly married wife. She doesn't know how to say goodbye or what to say. If she said, don't go, then he will construe it as apamangalam. Prajakil, alright, go. Snehena shunyam vaja. He may think that I have no affection. Tishteti prabhuta. If I say, stay, don't go, then he may think that I am ordering him. Yatharuchi kurushvesha pyudasinsa. Do whatever you like. Then it will be understood as I have no interest at all. Udasinata. No jivami vinatvayeti vachanam sambhavyate vana. If I want to tell him, without you I cannot survive, whether it's suitable at this juncture or not, I do not know. So my Lord, please you tell me what I should say when you are about to leave. So you have to tell us how to thank you. On behalf of all of us, of course, it is a present from our own Indaka, Shri Ramachandran ji, with our love, affection and regard. Okay. I must thank you all for coming here and making this talk such a great success. Next time when Mr. Ramachandran is here, we would like to hear more often whenever you are here. Maybe when you are here next, maybe a series of 3 or 4 talks on various topics of such interesting characters from our ancient epics, Puranas and literature.
Nothing can give me greater joy.
வணக்கம். இன்று பெரியார் சேக்கிழார் அடிப்படை திரு T.N. ராமச்சந்திரன் அவர்களின் லண்டன் விஜயத்தினுடைய நிறைவு சொற்பொழிவாக இருக்கும் என்று நினைக்கின்றேன். ஆரம்பித்ததும் நாங்களே அதை நிறைவாக்கி அவரை சந்தோஷமாக தாயகத்துக்கு அனுப்பி வைக்கும் பணியினையும் மேற்கொள்ள உள்ளோம் என்று. ஆனாலும் இன்றைய நிகழ்ச்சியினை இப்படி ஒரு நிகழ்ச்சியினை வைக்க வேண்டும் என்பதிலே மிக ஆசைப்பட்டு மிக மும்முரமாக செயல்பட்ட நண்பர் விமால் அவர்களை நாம் மறந்துவிட முடியாது என்று அத்தோடு திரு கனகேந்திரம் போன்றவர்களும் இந்த நிகழ்ச்சி வைப்பதிலே மிக ஆர்வமாக இருந்து மற்றும் சங்கத்தினுடைய அங்கத்தவர்கள் பலரும் இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியை இன்று நாங்கள் செய்தாக வேண்டும் என்று மிக ஆர்வமாக இருந்தமையினால் இன்று இந்த நிகழ்ச்சி சிறப்பாக ஆரம்பிக்கப்பட்டுள்ளது. என்று அவர்கள் மகாகவி ஸ்ரீ சுப்பிரமணிய பாரதியாரனுடைய வாழ்வும் வாக்கும் என்ற தலைப்பிலே எங்களுக்கு உரையாற்ற உள்ளார். அதைத் தொடர்ந்து சில வேளைகளிலே சில நல்ல கைங்கரியங்கள் நாங்கள் எதிர்பாராமல் சைவநேய சங்கத்திலே நடந்து விடுவதுண்டு. இந்த வருடம் பல நல்ல காரியங்களை நாங்கள் முன்னெடுத்து வந்துள்ளோம். பெரியார் அவர்களை 3 நாட்கள் தொடர்ச்சியாக சமய உரை ஆற்ற வைத்தோம். 2 நாட்கள் கலசத்தினுடைய விழாவை மிக விமர்சையாக செய்தோம். பின்பு சரஸ்வதி ராமநாதன் அவர்களை அழைத்து சமய சொற்பொழிவாற்ற வைத்தோம். பின்பு கம்பன் கழகம் ஜெயராஜ் அவர்களை அழைத்து சமய சொற்பொழிவாற்ற வைத்தோம். இன்று பெரியார் அவர்களை அழைத்துள்ளோம். அத்தோடு அதைவிட மிக முக்கியமாக பெரியார் அவர்கள் செய்கின்ற சில பணிகள் பல வருடங்களுக்கு முன் எழுதப்பட்ட புத்தகங்கள் பலவற்றை இன்று எங்கள் பார்வைக்கு புதிய அச்சு வடிவத்திலே தருவதிலே அவர் முக்கிய பங்காற்றி வருகின்றார். அந்த வகையிலே எதிர்பாராமல் திடீரென்று